moral of the story is buy good tires for your cars.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Also, another moral of the story is don't merge into other people.
All this AI stuff.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the iTunes Fan Podcast. And as always, I'm Teddy Macker from the iTunes Fanboy.
I am Tabby Cat, or TC.
And Alpha Day Wolf is not with us this time because I'm going to assume that he's probably doing something at his church, if I had to guess, because today is, I don't know what today is, but it's Thursday before Easter, and I know there's some sort of religious link to that holiday that churches will celebrate. I know.
Okay.
Or let me look it up. Now I won't look it up because I would get blacklisted for that, but...
Really?
Or I don't know. It's just something... It would be a little controversial because it technically links to religion, so if I were... And we already are causing a whole lot of controversy with some of these topics, so... Shall we move on to our first topic, which is actually not a controversial one?
Yeah.
So, our first topic is your new 2024 Mac Mini.
It's pretty good. I'm so far enjoying it. 16 gigabytes of RAM and all. Pretty solid computer, I'd say, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I got my grandmother one for Christmas, and it's a great computer, truly, for $600 again. Like, I know we say this a lot, but $600 for this good of a computer.
It's really impressive. The amount of performance and not only just performance, but the amount of efficiency that you get for $500. It's nice.
I mean, a lot of people like to claim that it's not necessarily important for desktops to be as efficient, but I disagree because even though you're not constrained, even though battery life isn't necessarily the main concern with desktops, you do have power bills are
power bill, and then also heat. It runs really cool.
Yeah,
which is important in my opinion.
Which is helpful because if you're going to be stacking a Mac Mini in a massive server rack with a bunch of them, like, you don't want that place generating too much heat because that could be fatal. Or it wouldn't necessarily be fatal, but that could be
it could be a problem.
A massive problem, especially if you're in.
It could take some years off of the computer's life.
Especially if you're in Phoenix, especially if you're running those in Phoenix or somewhere hot like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
But you like your Mac Mini? Do you have anything more?
No, I like it.
Or you like it?
Yeah. It's a nice computer.
Do you have anything more to say about that, or shall I move on to our next technically two topics, but I combine them into one since they correlate to each other? If you want to talk about them.
I don't really have any other things to say about the Mac Mini.
All right, so now we don't have to talk about this, or do you have the topics list pulled up?
I do not. Hang on, because I just got on this computer. And usually it does not like to update. All right. I'll say a little bit on this topic. Yeah. Q5 is not doing too well. ID4, someone decided to switch lanes into me while I was driving on the highway. And
that's always bad.
Yeah, maybe this person just expected me to get out of the way for them. Maybe they're just that important. Maybe they didn't see me. Which, like, how do you not see a SUV? I have no idea. But the ID4 is wrecked. Q5 is either never coming back or coming back in quite a while. Quite a long time. So, we'll have to see.
Or I didn't realize that the ID4 got kind of like totally wrecked.
No, the ID4 isn't totaled. The Q5, that's to be seen.
Yeah, I know the true. I won't go into too much of this for obvious reasons, but the moral of the story is buy good tires for your cars.
That's part of it.
Also, another moral of the story is don't merge into other people.
Yeah, really. Make sure that there's no one coming.
I mean, that's like basic interstate driving. That's like basic interstate driving etiquette.
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea how that even happened. So stupid.
Alright, well, do you have any more to say about this, or shall I move on to our next topic?
We can move on to our next topic.
Alright, so this is one that Alpha this is one that Alpha got the idea of largely, but he's sadly not here with us to enjoy this our latest inductions into the Idiot Award ceremony.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So remember how we talked Alpha decided to nominate three of my latest comments to the Idiot Awards ceremony.
Really?
Yes. So you didn't see that in our group chat?
I have not been in town part of this week. So I haven't exactly been keeping up too much, but I did see something this morning.
Alright, so first of all, these are all three comments from the same guy. So his first comment said that is reference to my latest video at the time of recording this podcast. Look, Gen Alpha started in 2012. It's still debated, but most sources say 2012 or later. I've literally never heard. And now, Tabby, when do you consider Gen Alpha to have started?
I thought it was 2012. It's not?
No, it's technically 2010, and until that guy, and then, well, you just mentioned it, everyone literally mentioned it as 20. It's commonly not known as 2010, people born between 2010 and 2024 are part of Gen Alpha.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. It's weird.
So that's...
I always thought it was 2010.
You thought it was 20...
Or 2012,
Yeah.
I mean. Sorry.
No, it is apparently 2010. Like, I looked it up, and the first sources I found said 2010. So that's something. But getting more on topic, this next comment is a lot more relevant to the show, which is that I'm going to say nothing other than security. That's the only real advantage iPhone got left, considering I got multiple iPhones and Androids of flavors. I can say this with confidence.
Well, there's a lot that iPhones offer to the table other than security. One of them is iMessage.
Yes.
And there's even more. I mean, it's kind of countless. You know, there's benefits to iPhones and Androids.
Yeah. There really are.
So I don't. Yeah.
And then this is my
So I
favorite.
don't know what this person's on about.
And then this is probably Alpha's. This is probably my favorite one, so this was on my EVs Are the Future video. And this guy commented saying he clearly didn't watch this video even though he claimed he did. He said, "Unfortunately, EVs are a good concept, but the issue isn't the motor, it's the fact that they've hacked so many useless features in them. Just make an EV with an interior like a car from the 90s with only necessities. It will last back forever. We just need better battery technology. Once they do that, I'll accept EV and tell them I hate them except Tesla. I like Musket guy."
What? This guy's on some odd thinking.
Yes!
Why would you want a car with the interior from the 90s? What, do you want to be holding around a map or putting one of those goofy phone holders on your dash forever?
Or do you want... Or even better, have you heard of the Ford Tempo?
Ford Tempo?
It was their cheapest car that was sold from 1985 until 1995. It had lots and lots of trade-offs, including a cloth interior.
Yeah.
There was no cassette. There were no cassette players or CD players. You only had radio if you wanted to listen to music. And I don't remember. I think the engine was really bad too.
Sounds like a typical economy 90s Ford.
Yeah.
I don't understand when people say they want cars to be like they used to be made. So you want your car to rust out?
Yeah, I get like for the whole point of EVs do have are technically simpler cars than gas cars.
In a lot of ways, yes. Then you get to most of the software ways, and
Yeah.
honestly, the software is
Well, that's just because they
a
make them.
problem.
Well, that's just because they make them that way. They don't have. When you technically get right down to it, you need a whole lot of parts to make a gas vehicle, but you technically don't need a lot of parts to create an EV. It's just that they have to. It's just they like to pack so many features into EVs. As a result, you have all that software tuning and whatnot.
Yeah.
He's also made more, but do you want or do you want to do you want to discuss your friend Evan's superfan?
There's, I mean, I understand, it's pretty innocent, but person just like is really into Evan, I guess. Person comments on my videos a few weeks ago. Hey, can you do more videos with your brown-haired friend? And I think they left 2 comments. So I'm like, okay, I guess people want to see more of Evan. And then to my surprise, I go and I upload a video with Evan, and this person comments saying something like, "Thank you for taking my idea. Can you do more videos with them?" So it's like, okay,
he
that's cool, but that's a little bit interesting.
Yeah, he likes. Yeah, he doesn't watch it for you. He watches it for Evan, which I think is ridiculous. Which I don't know what he thinks, but
I mean, I'm still getting the view, so
that's kind of. It's a little bit odd, I'll say, because it's like I'm willing to bet that's a girl between the ages of 10 and 13 commenting that.
I kind of thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It is Evan has a real fan, I guess.
Oh, and I guess another induction into the idiot award is that so this is on my latest tutorial on how to install apps on iOS 5 through 7 in 2025 by Terrace, and this one isn't necessarily an idiot. I don't know if I should give this one the idiot award since this person might not know English very well, but this guy commented saying it not installed. It does not do it. It does not do everything. I'm sure that guy meant to say does. And so because
I don't understand how people manage to mess up spelling that bad. It doesn't seem like that hard of a task.
no
I mean, I
exact
guess I've never tried to spell in Spanish. I'd probably be just about as bad as him, but
yeah, yeah, I would.
there's a reason why I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, I'm in French class right now, and like half the times I forget. Now, granted, this you're only gonna know this if you have French class, but I forget a lot of stuff like helping verbs and whatnot, and I forget get proper conjugation quite often when writing French.
Yeah, I have no idea how to speak anything other than English, and I probably will never try and learn anything other than
You,
English.
you didn't have to take a foreign language to graduate high school.
Um, I cannot remember anything from when I took Spanish one. I took Spanish for a little while, but I cannot remember anything of that. So,
Yeah, for the problem of foreign language classes here in America is that they basically make it take one class in high school, 1 or 2 classes in high school, which is way too late to introduce a new foreign language easily. And that guy,
I've never had the need to know another language. I've never really wanted to know another language, you know
I
what I
think the
mean?
big problem is that English is already the world's most widely spoken language, and there's online
Really?
translators, and the United States alone is such a big country, and then the U.S. borders Canada, which is also a big country, and well, they partially speak English.
I feel like more Canadians speak English than French.
Yeah, more. Yeah, the majority of Canadians speak English, but in Quebec they actually have in Quebec they have crazy. They have. I'm not going to say they're crazy laws, but back in the day when England and France both colonized Canada, England and France had to work out a treaty where basically France got a part of Canada and England got a part. And so as a result, the French government put cultural police there that basically state like only like a certain number of the radio stations there must be in French. All the signs and labels and whatnot have to be in French. Like you basically have to speak French there.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit annoying.
I'm sure it's not annoying once you live there, but I mean, yeah, that's
I mean, I'm sure it's not annoying if you're French, but
yeah.
I don't know how many French people are gonna. I mean, I guess if you don't like France, you can go to Quebec.
I mean, yeah, but most, I mean, great, yeah, because French, I mean, French isn't
I
French
feel like
is.
most French people will just stay in their native country, and if
I mean,
they don't
they're.
like it there, I feel like they would probably just go somewhere and learn English, you know? I don't
I
know.
mean, most French people learn English too in France, and I mean, French is also spoken in Northern Africa from the
Huh.
from the imperialism days.
That's interesting.
So it's spoken in many countries. So like Senegal, I know speaks French as their official language.
Yeah.
I think the Congo speaks French.
Huh.
So there's many countries there that speak. So French isn't just a French language. French isn't just a language spoken in France, but and also in the other European countries surrounding France, they speak French. But do we ha-
Yeah.
do you have anything more to say about foreign languages or idiot words, or shall I move on to our next topic?
No, I think we might accidentally say some stupid stuff if we keep talking about this.
Yeah, let's avoid saying stupid stuff. And how about we move on to something genius that Apple did that shouldn't have been genius, but it was.
What's up?
So Apple removed their AI advertisements from iPhone 16 Pro ads.
Well, that's nice, because Apple Intelligence is a joke.
Yes, finally, Apple's realizing that Apple Intelligence is stupid.
They're probably just gonna put it up again in a few more months. They're probably waiting for iOS 19. They're probably gonna try and hype up a Apple Intelligence again as if it's brand new.
This is so. Apple, please do not embrace your artificial intelligence. Please don't get artificial intelligence disease.
It's so stupid to me because wasn't can't you consider like the original version of Siri artificial intelligence?
It kind. Yes, technically it is
It's like
artificial intelligence.
artificial intelligence isn't new. It just searches the web now, which is a little bit, different. The only difference between AI now and AI 3, 4, 5 years ago is that now it has more of a database to search through. And it might be a bit more, well, it's probably a lot more efficient.
Yeah, it's literally the only difference between AI from back in the day and now. But do you have anything more to say about this, or shall we move on to our our marathon of controversial topics?
No, let's hear what's next.
So we have three. We have three controversial topics. So our first one is that Apple is airlifting some iPhones from India back to beat the tariffs.
Well, that's nice.
I mean, that's kind of a genius.
Tariffs might make things a big problem.
I mean, yeah, I can see. I mean, I get why Apple's doing that because they still want to remain loyal to China in a sense. So, I mean, I get that they're trying to beat them because India. Oh wait, India has no. Yeah, yeah, India got rid of their tariffs on U.S. goods, so the U.S. got rid of tariffs on Indian goods.
Oh, that's nice.
But shall we get more into our next topic that deals more with these tariffs?
Yeah.
So Trump paused the tariffs for 90 days on devices made in China because they have to renegotiate trade deals because tariffs crashed. The tariffs, believe it or not, crashed China's economy. And
Wow.
just to explain more context on this, basically other countries have been putting tariffs on US goods for years now, but the US hasn't exactly fought back. So now Trump is putting tariffs on these other countries until they agree to drop their tariffs. And so as a result, the US and China now have to rework trade deals.
Yeah.
I mean,
This whole thing is just a mess
yeah.
from what it sounds like.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I get why. I get that it has to happen, but it's more of a. This is definitely what I call a growing pain.
Guess so.
But shall I move on to our next topic or shall I move on to our next, or I guess the moral of the story, this topic is that you can now get devices for cheaper you now definitely have a guarantee of getting cheaper devices made from China for 3 more months.
Yeah. That's gonna be good.
All right, well, shall I move on to our next topic that is actually a very fascinating one, even though it's controversial?
Yeah.
So, the Department of Government Efficiency fired the agency that regulates autonomous self-driving in an EV in cars like FSD.
Huh. So what does that mean?
So there's two sides to this argument. Number one is that, well, because Doge is run by Elon Musk basically deregulated his own full self driving industry. I can see that side of the argument, but the other side is that, well, these big agents whenever you have these big massive agencies that come together, it's forming the ancient Chinese idea of a bureaucracy, and bureaucracy is
Huh.
definitely and there's no and bureaucracies do slow innovation. So I see both sides to it, but that's
Yeah.
just. I mean, I'm stoked to see what FSD does, but I mean, but I'm personally okay with that agency getting eliminated as long as things don't get too out of hand. But yeah,
We'll just have to wait and see. Kind of like everything with the current like political American politics right now. Just got to see what ends up happening from everything.
yeah, it's yeah. There's many. Yeah, but that's a bit of American politics are very controversial right now. But shall I move on to
As
something
always.
that's not quite as controversial, but just it's kind of stupid, but not necessarily.
Sure.
So, the Samsung Bali is a new AI companion robot that is launching in late 2025.
What is it like shaped like a ball?
Kinda, and it's basically a robotic pet.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Samsung for you though.
Yeah, why would I want a robot? It's better than. To be honest, that idea is kind of old anyway, because Samsung is revitalizing that. Because in Japan, I guess this is again going back into controversial topics, but in Japan, because Japan, I believe Japan had some regulations on how many kids people could have back in the late 20th century, and so as a result, and as a result, because Japanese people are not really interested in reproducing, and they're not interested in getting spouses and having children anymore. As a result, Japan has a massive populate crisis when they have so many old people in Japan, but not enough young people to take care of the old people.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
So as a result, there's some Japanese firms that have come out with literal robots for to offer healthcare to these seniors.
Robots to deal with the old people.
Yeah, basically.
Wow. I mean, I guess if that's how it's got to be.
Yeah.
It's weird though.
Yeah, robot. Yeah, having a robot follow me or having a robot as a pet is just weird because the difference is that a cat is an actual living. A cat is a living. Like having a pet cat is different than having a pet robot because a pet robot I can just power down, but a pet cat I can't. Meaning that if I want to give my cat, meaning that if my cat wants attention, I better give it to him or her.
Yeah. The way that I kind of see it, it's like, remember those old iDog toys from back in like the 2010s?
I kind of do, but I need to look at a picture of one of those.
You probably recognize it.
Oh,
Those were everywhere.
I've seen
Seems
it.
like the adult version of that.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah, they're kind of freaky. I'm not gonna lie.
I think those were in the 2000s actually, but
Probably late 2000s, early 2010s, because I remember seeing. I don't know when they were really like the most popular, but I remember seeing them in
they
the
were
early
available
2010s.
from 2005 until 2009. But oh my,
Man, 2005.
yeah, they were in the 2000s. But what on earth is?
Huh?
What on earth are these things? There's an eye cat and an eye fish and an eye turtle.
Who's buying any of that stuff?
I don't think anybody now, but
Just seems like an infringement on the Apple I moniker.
well, technically Apple doesn't own that, but yeah, Oh, and there was also a green McDonald's toy version of the iDog, or there was a McDonald's toy version of the iDog.
McDonald's toy version.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, the iDog is. I don't know why, but the iDog seems a little bit weird, but at the same time, let me actually look up if you can buy iDogs on eBay.
Probably can.
iDog. Yep, they're selling them. They're actually.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, they're kind of expensive.
How much?
They're like $40 to $70 depending.
That's not. Yeah, that's that. They do hold their value, I guess. They're probably. People are probably gonna buy them now.
Yeah.
Man.
All right, shall I move on to our next topic now, other than creepy robot dogs?
Yeah.
So, Microsoft just celebrated their 50th birthday, and so in that birthday in their birthday party, Steve Ballmer, their former CEO, recreated their famous developers chant, which I don't remember what that is, and then they had lots and lots of AI talk, unsurprisingly.
All this AI stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Apparently, it's the future.
I don't think it is, but
Everyone says it is, but I don't know.
sometimes the mass market isn't always right. I'm just saying, because whenever I try to argue with somebody about AI that isn't a tech enthusiast like us, they always try to make me feel like the I don't want to. I don't like saying this, but they always try to make me. But the people who don't know anything about AI like to make us that know it's stupid feel like idiots, I guess, or idiots. Yes.
People just want to act like they know more about stuff.
Because everybody hypes up AI to be this massive, big revolutionary thing. Because of course it's revolutionary. I mean, Silicon Valley is endorsing it when in reality, it's not. It's like, what's a good thing to compare to? It's like college. When
AI to me is just a buzzword. We've had AI for years. Look at Siri, like I was saying earlier.
yeah,
But it's just now there's more of a use for it.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy how much AI, how much everybody loves AI. But shall we move on to a new port now?
Yeah, sure.
So, GPMI is a new Chinese video output and input standard like HDMI that has a Type C that there's GPMI Type C that is compatible with that works with USB-C.
Oh, that's nice.
And then there's a Type B that is more powerful but has a new port and it carries 480 watts of power.
Wow.
I ain't pro.
480 watts.
I think personally, for most use cases, I imagine right now, especially because some government bodies, ew, they're probably going to, the Type C version will probably take off a lot more because the Type C version of GPMI is still very capable, but the Type
Yeah.
B version, I mean, it's not the most. The Type B, I mean, it's great and all, but the problem is that it's just another port, and they would have to. And this day and age, like when you're used to just using USB C for everything, like it's just that you just have to be able to use the same port for everything. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
I think that USB-C is honestly the future.
Yeah. And then the next standard that will replace it will have to be able to do everything that USB C can do.
USB-C is, I think USB-C is going to last a long time.
I would be surprised if my guess is that USB C is going to have a good at least another 10 years before it gets replaced.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna end up overtaking everything because, like, the government's highly encouraging USB-C. I mean, look at the European government, yeah, or whatever, the EU.
Yeah, I mean I mean yeah, for the I mean USB-A technically had a 18-year USB-A technically had an 18-year reign before USB-C came out in 2014.
Yeah,
So if
and then USB-C wasn't really a big thing for years.
if I had to guess USB-C my guess, I mean to be fair USB-A, I mean USB-A was kind of a big deal when it came out, but it wasn't the but USB-A had kind of slow adoption too.
Yeah, people just need to drop USB-A. It's not getting anybody anywhere.
Yeah, for I mean USB. I meant when USB-A first came out, but USB. But my guess is that sometime around 10 years from now, they're going to come out with USB-D or whatever the next port is, and then
It
it'll
might be
probably
all wireless by then.
or that too, or else they'll do something like that, and then they'll do something, and then what they'll come up with some new protocol like that, and then from then on it'll just take off. And then from then on, it'll probably be a little longer before it takes off fully. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, maybe USB-C will kind of shrink a little bit. Maybe there will be like a mini version. I feel like that would be a pretty cool idea. Mini
Yeah.
USB-C.
I mean, the only other trend that I can think of really that they can do to ports is if they can figure out how to get data transfer done by fiber optics on the consumer level for more standards besides Toslink, then
Yeah. Toslink is pretty old now, though.
yeah, Toslink is like a 4-year-old standard.
Still works better than most wireless solutions, I will say that.
Oh yes, oh yes. If there's any future in wireless. Did you see DIY Perks, one of his latest videos, when he built a wireless surround sound system using Toslink?
I didn't. What's that about?
So he basically managed to angle the receivers exactly, angle the receivers on surround sound system exactly, so he could have wireless surround sound on his home entertainment system, with toss links. That way there would be zero latency and there would be lossless audio.
Huh. That's kind of cool.
And they also use a lot of fiber optics. And I guess I should say that a lot of newer fiber optic standards are a lot faster at transferring data because that's what they use in the internet lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you have anything more to say about
I've
or do you have anything more to say about
sorry.
GPMI? Do you have anything more to say about GPMI, or shall I move on to our next topic?
I feel like if it's done correctly, it's gonna be a big standard.
Yep, it will be. But moving on to our next topic is actually, speaking of wireless technology, there's a new MediaTek Bluetooth chip which is the Dimensity 9400 Plus, and it has a range
Oh, nice.
of 6.2 miles, or technically 6 and a fifth miles, or else 10 kilometers.
That's crazy. Getting miles worth of range.
So and other so and other now this is kind of a stupid example, but I could pro it's kind of a stupid example, but I could pro but if I wanted to, I could probably no, I can't actually again. There's a lot of places like I could literally drive my car a mile away and leave my phone at home, and I could still have Bluetooth connectivity. Like I could still have music playing. Now, granted, you have to factor in that there's going to be stuff like walls that'll block the Bluetooth transmission. And of course, in the quiet zone, that's irrelevant anyway. Tabby?
Yeah, sorry, my mic got muted.
Uh,
But I was just saying, I feel like other devices would affect that too.
oh yeah, yeah. I'm not saying that. Yeah, so I'm not saying that you should expect a 2 mile range because you shouldn't, but still, the range you're gonna get on that thing out of devices with these Bluetooth chips and other Bluetooth chips that come out with this technology, it's gonna be wild.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what the future of Bluetooth would be with this.
Yeah, for I mean, I know my house isn't exactly that big, but I know if I play, let's say I know sometimes when I'm listening to a YouTube video out in my family room and I go into my own room, the range will sometimes drop.
Oh yeah. That happens sometimes with me too.
And of course, with that kind of range, not only would that be fixed, but I could probably have like my, I could probably have you, I could probably have Bluetooth connectivity from a device one to the house, from one end of my house all the way to the other.
Yeah.
And it's
That
just
it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens next.
yeah, it will be. But shall we move on to our final topic now?
Sure.
So Apple is keep keep switching Siri between teams without improvement.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Siri's garbage.
Given the performance of Apple Intelligence, especially the new Siri, yeah, I can see that.
Siri's always been horrible.
I mean, she hasn't always been horrible, but it's just that I think the biggest fundamental problem that Tech Ultra discussed is that, which is a good point, is that voice computing just isn't precise enough to do what people like to do on computers.
There's just no real way that it's going to end up working out in the end. I don't think that there's an actual I don't think that the actual use case of Siri and Google Assistant and all is going to work because the only time that I ever use Siri is when I'm on CarPlay and I really because I can't use my phone while driving because I have this stupid insurance app that tracks every little move that I do. It's basically like spyware,
Well, it's
but
also that's but that's also illegal in many states to use your devices when you're driving, so I use Siri in that case.
yeah, I mean, it is illegal, but the way that I see it, if they're gonna give you a ticket for using your phone at a drive-through, because it's sometimes you just have
Or they're
to.
not gonna.
If you're
I don't think it's in
calling the
drive. I don't think it's necessarily. I don't know if that would apply in drive-throughs, but I think in. But they're talking
someone
about
got a
on.
ticket for it in a
They're
drive-through.
talk. They're
But
talking about on like the laws mainly apply to roads.
yeah, but it's like so. Whenever I have passengers in my car, I tell them, if you want to play something, just let me know, music-wise, because I don't really. Most of my friends have the same music taste as me, and they're like, okay, let me see your phone. I'm like, just tell Siri, because even if someone else is using my phone, a passenger is using my phone, um, it'll still count against me, which is really annoying because the way that I see it, there should be a way to just say, passenger was using the phone, not me. I know some of these insurance apps have that, but
Yeah,
one that I'm on
that drives
doesn't.
me nuts. How a lot of insurance how a lot of insurance works that way because you don't because here's another thing. What if your phone is broken but you still need to drive?
Honestly, I've just left the phone at home. I probably shouldn't say it. Okay. For legal reasons, I did that in Grand Theft Auto. And I don't recommend anybody driving if anybody who's got an insurance app to drive without their phone. But all I'm saying, I leave at home, what are they going to do? In Grand Theft Auto, of course. Definitely not in real life,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I know for I mean I do have an insurance app on my phone, but they don't actually but they don't but my family's policy is that they don't track it. Well, they supposedly
If
don't.
you don't, do you know which app it is, if you don't mind saying?
So my family's in the process of switching to State Farm, but we used to use
Oh,
GeiCo.
okay. I have no experience with either of those, but yeah, I've dealt with a few of these apps, and honestly, the way that I see it, the app so insurance companies are they're a company. They're not made to help you. They're made to make money. So they're going to use every little bit that they can of the insurance app to try and deny your claim by saying you were doing this wrong, you were doing that wrong. So let's say, you're driving 60 in a 55. Insurance company can go say, and let's say you get into a wreck. Insurance company can go say, yeah, you're speeding. That's on you.
I know. For I mean, let's
Even
face it.
even if you're following traffic.
Let's face it. If you're going 60 and a 55 and you're causing a wreck, it's likely
That's
not.
probably on.
It's probably on the other person. I mean, unless you're now granted if you're driving like that in what in extreme weather conditions, then okay, I can see that. But
But it's like,
or else if it's a
even if you're
night.
following the flow of traffic, because I was following the flow of traffic a few days ago, and I feel like if I wasn't following the flow of traffic, the wreck that I got into would have been a lot worse.
Yeah, for I mean,
I feel like it would have been a pile up in that case.
yeah, for traffic is for I mean, you have to sometimes for I mean, insurance apps are just so insurance companies in general are just very scummy.
They are, but it's the law, and it's probably good because honestly, I don't really want to have to deal with an uninsured driver hitting me.
I mean, yeah, for I
And
mean,
that's
you would
probably going to
literally
happen sooner or later.
for I mean, if an uninsured driver hits you, like you would literally have to have some type of agreement, like you basically have to have the uninsured driver work for you in that case.
I really hate the idea of states not requiring insurance because
All 50 states do.
Really, I read somewhere that like Virginia and Texas or something like that didn't require all drivers to be insured.
Well, no. Yeah, no, all 50 states require insurance. All 50 states require some form of insurance. Now, different types of insurance that you
Huh.
need for different states varies. Or if
Yeah.
you live in different states, like the types of insurance you need varies, but all 50 states require driver's insurance.
That's good.
Yeah. But of course there are still some ways for uninsured drivers to get on the road, which I won't get into because they involve a lot of even more controversial topics than what we talked about.
Yeah. It's just really nonsense.
Yeah. For I mean, another funny thing is that actually on with State Farm, I know if you're a teen driver and if you have good grades in school, they'll actually give you a discount.
Wow. Yeah, I think I got that.
Yeah, that now grant now so in other words, insurance companies are saying that kids that use ChatGPT, students that use ChatGPT all the time to do their schoolwork or Golf AI to do all their schoolwork are going to be good drivers.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case, but
Yeah.
I don't know how driving a car relates to grades, but
No,
okay.
I mean suppose the idea about is supposedly that kids that have better grades will typically drive better because they're smarter, but your grade in school has nothing to do with your intelligence, I have found.
Yeah, I mean, there's smart kids that a lot of the smart kids will probably just take every single thing by the book. Oh, it's a 35. I gotta go 35, even if the person in front of me is going 40, even if the whole traffic is flowing at 40.
Yeah.
Even if 35 makes zero sense for the road you're on. Because here's what I've found, honestly. And, I'm not saying anybody should take this as advice, but if you're going exactly the speed limit on a one lane road, or, yeah, one lane road, and someone tries passing you, if it's solid lines, someone tries passing you, yeah, that's on them, but still you're basically creating a barrier because there's people that don't want to go exactly the speed limit. Nobody really wants to be stuck going exactly the speed limit because most of these one lane roads, the speed limit's 10, 15 below what it should be.
Yeah, for
So
I'm
if you're just sitting there exactly the speed limit or even below it, you're just causing a bigger problem for the other people. Because you're going to have people stuck behind you, you're going to have people trying to pass you illegally. You're just you're causing a mess. You got to drive how people expect you to drive, not how everything according to the book.
yeah,
But of
for I
course,
mean
that's not
there's
advice because that could get me in legal trouble. But
I mean yeah, for there's so many for like on two red lane roads in my area. What drives me nuts is that there are some drivers that are, like drive 45 and 5 mile per hour and 55 mile per hour zones.
I will
Uh,
never understand why somebody will just decide to go under the speed limit just because they feel like it.
yeah, I mean like I actually honked at a driver once for doing that, and there was one time and there
I had to do that yesterday.
I had to honk at a driver this. I had to honk at a driver just this afternoon as I was pulling out of school because there was this parent that wasn't moving up fast enough
Yeah,
to let me turn all the way and
I
not
really
block the parking and not block the entry so that way people would actually get out of there.
I cannot understand why some there's two things. This is the main thing that I don't understand why people do. Why are some people so against accelerating at any like normal speed at a traffic light? Because the light turns green. All right, let's go. No, some people are like, "Oh, yeah, I got to wait until everything, I got to wait 5 seconds, then I'll start going really slowly." To the point where the light's going to change before everyone gets through. I mean, when I'm at a traffic light and I'm ready to go, I'll just go. I'll, yeah, I'll make sure there's no one running it, but I'm not
Yeah,
going to take forever to accelerate. I'll get up to speed within 5-10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean that's typically. I mean that's typically what I like to do too. I always go the speed. For I like at red lights. First of all I check to make sure no one's gonna run it, and then as soon as it turns green, I get up to speed within a few seconds, just that way I'm not blocking the roads for other people to get through. Because
Exactly.
I understand that I'm not the most important person on the road. That there are other people on the road that are either just as important or else even or of even greater importance.
Yeah, it's like honestly, I'm pretty consistently the first person off any red light. I am in 9 out of 10 scenarios up to speed faster than everyone. I just take off faster than everyone at a light because it's like, what's the point in going slow from that?
Yeah, one thing that I do one thing for I mean there are some times when this is another thing that drives me nuts too about 2 lane road well 2 lane roads technically 1 lane each bound is that there are some is that whenever I try to is that if these roads have shoulders, whenever I try to turn off somewhere and I'm not in a dedicated left turn lane, I swear I get drivers so often try to pass me on the shoulder,
That happens a lot of the time, yeah.
which
Or
is
the
not
other
only
side of the road,
illegal, but
which,
which is very illegal in all 50 states, mind you, and it's also dangerous because shoulders are not meant to have to be passing lanes. They are meant for people who need to stop. They are intended for people who need to stop, or let's say you actually have to respond to a text or something, or else
usually
let's
there's garbage on the shoulders too. Stuff that'll
that
mess your car up.
or then you can go ahead and pull over. Also, if you have to get something out of your car, or else if you need to stop it. That's another thing is that there's some places like Atlanta where there's so much garbage on the shoulders,
Yeah.
or else there's and believe it or because there's a lot of times places when there's not only garbage on the shoulders but also roadkill, which is technically a form of garbage, and car parts.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it doesn't bother me too much when people pass on the shoulder, but I'm just like, why? I turn. I think it's pretty obvious, but I turn. I don't slow down to like 5 miles an hour to take my turns.
No, I'm not
Someone's
that.
behind me. If someone's behind me, I'll turn basically as fast as I can without doing something stupid that's gonna end up causing a problem. I try and just be as respectful as I can to whoever's behind me, not waste their time,
Yeah.
not have to make them deal with me.
Yeah, for I typically turn at depending like if I'm turn typically if I'm turning from typically if I'm turning it's not typically if I'm turning I typically turn at 15 miles per hour.
So I remember this is just a funny story. I remember this one time where I was pulling into my neighborhood and I had to go home, then go somewhere else, then go back home, then go somewhere else quick. And this is back when my house only had two cars. So I was the only I had to pick up my mom from my house, drive her somewhere, then I had to use the car. And I remember I came into the turn too quick and I did the turn at like 30 and my mom was waiting outside and the tires screeched so much that the whole neighborhood heard and my mom's like, "What did you just do?" I'm like, "I took that turn a little too fast." I didn't mess the car up or anything, but I I just take the turn into neighborhoods at like 20 or I just match the speed limit of the neighborhood if I'm in a car that can at least cuz it seems like the Audi can't really turn even at like 15 on the Audi, it looks like, without causing issues.
Yeah, for I mean there's so many. Yeah, for it's so crazy. Yeah, for driving in neighbor what drives me nuts is that there are some people that are intentionally will drive slower in neighborhoods, like slower than the speed limit, which that also drives me nuts. Nuts because I'm like it's a neighborhood. You're supposed to go whatever speed the speed limit is.
Yeah, I just go the speed limit in the neighborhood usually.
Like
Because,
I
like, my neighborhood, there's no kids in my neighborhood.
no, I
And
mean
then one time, Huh?
Or you talk.
One time, okay, for legal reasons, this happened in like Minecraft or Grand Theft Auto. But one time I was going like 6 over the neighborhood because it was it was not the kind of day where kids would be out. Nobody was going to be out this day. It was raining just enough where nobody was going to be outside. So I was going a little bit over. And I was getting yelled at. I'm like, who is going to be out? Who is going to sit, walking around the neighborhood when it's raining, it's cold? No one's doing that. And even if someone is, the visibility was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, what drives me nuts is that there are some people that recommend driving slow. Like, even if it's just a little bit of rain, that there are some people that recommend driving like 10 below the speed limit, which drives me nuts because if it's just rain, then you should then, as long as you can see well, then you should be able to drive what the speed limit is.
Yeah, I've never had an issue in rain really with going like a reasonable
Yeah,
speed. I've never understood going under the speed limit in the rain
I
because
mean,
unless it's like really, really bad rain,
or else if you're
like if it's
stopping
just a
at a
little bit of rain,
bridge when there could be possible water buildup.
we don't really have those around here, I don't think.
Yeah, that could just be a thing in my area. But yeah, there's that. But what else am I trying? But I mean, there was one time when I had to drive at like 40 miles per hour when it was raining. But in Heinz in my defense, but in but in the weather's defense, it was not only at night, but it was also really hard rain, and you couldn't really see that well. So that then it did make
That would
sense to
make
go
sense.
slower.
Yeah, I remember maybe a week after I got my driver's permit, probably not even that. I was driving home from a pretty big city, and it was night, and especially back then, I was horrible at driving at night, and it was storming, like it was storming. So I was
Ooh.
driving home, and that pretty much got me prepared for whatever else I had to deal with when I had my permit because for that whole 9 month period, it was like within the first week, I saw more hard driving stuff than past that because I got my permit in the winter.
Yeah, I got my perm because I got my permit in March 2023. I didn't actually drive at night until July 2023, and to
Wait,
be
hold on.
and I never got
How
free
old do you have to be to get your permit there?
uh 15.
Huh. I got my permit in January of 2023. I didn't realize that we got our permits that close together. When did you get your license? Like
Eh,
May of 24?
It was April 24.
Huh. We're a little bit closer in like driving experience than I thought.
Let me look
I don't know why.
let me look up drive driver's license age by state because I won't say what state Tag lives in, but I'll just see like if there is a
I got my driver's license in October of 2023,
so let's
but I could have gotten it earlier.
yeah.
I kind of wish I did.
Oh yeah, I did. Oh yeah, I did look at. Oh yeah, I did look it up. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, you can. Okay. This always fascinates me how some states are. Yeah, most states in the United States are 16 for license.
Yeah,
Except for South
but
Dakota. There you can get your license at 14 and a half, which I really wish more states did.
whoa, what?
Yeah, in South Dakota, you can be 14 and a half and get your permit. Or no, you can get your license at 14 and a half.
Whoa, okay.
And mind you, they have 80-mile-per-hour speed limits there.
Wow. That's
That's awesome.
that's something. I don't know if I'd trust being a bunch around being on the road around a bunch of 14-year-olds, but
I guess I should say
Still.
because it's South Dakota, a lot of times because kids have a lot those people have a lot more experience of farm equipment at an early age. So I guess I should preface it with that, but still.
Yeah. Man, I didn't realize that. But yeah, I got my license pretty much as soon as I could because I I know people who are older than me and still haven't even gotten their permit. I'm like, what's the point in
I
waiting?
know I
You
know
know?
people that are older than me and still haven't gotten their to or permit too, which drives me nuts because why would no one want to drive why would no one want to why would no one want to drive why would anybody want to wait to drive a car in the United States?
Like I can understand being scared of it, but like what's waiting gonna do? You're
No,
not
just
just gonna
a,
if you're 18, 19, 20, and you still haven't gotten your permit. I can understand if you don't have a vehicle to practice on, or if there's something going on there. If you can't for whatever reason, but like just not getting it just because you don't feel like it. Like, come on, you gotta. At some point, you're gonna have to do it. So why not just deal with it now?
yeah, for I mean like imagine go like what I can't believe is it's becoming normal now, which I mean okay I mean it's still like it would be so like I think that's honestly kind of I think to be honest parents that let their kids not get their not drive not wait to get their license until they have to. I think those parents are personally spoiling their kids literally. And the reason
I have
why
no clue.
and my reasoning for that is, I mean, let's face it, parents have to drive around their kids everywhere for the most part anyway. So I mean, that's called being spoiled. If you're
In a
just
way,
it is in a way. Like when I the first time I took my permit test, I failed it, and my father actually told me that I couldn't do anything YouTube related or else podcast related until I passed my permit test.
oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I passed the permit test and the driving test first try.
yeah, I passed the driving.
Um,
In hindsight,
I shouldn't have passed the driving test, but I did.
I passed I passed the driving test my driving test too all the first try, but I didn't. But my permit test, I because the way you get your permit in my state is it is so incredibly stupid. The how the permit tests work.
How does it work?
Okay, so I may. Okay, so I'll go. Okay, I'll go ahead and put this in the chat.
All right.
So
I feel like with the amount of stupid stuff that they make you learn to get your permit, there should not be this many dumb drivers out there.
yeah, for I
Like
mean,
there's so many people that just don't know how to drive their car. They can't. I mean, go outside, drive for 15 minutes in an area where there's, moderate traffic. I'm willing to bet you'll see probably at least 20 people who just should not be on the road.
I
And
know.
honestly, it's mostly older people.
Or it's just and another thing actually no, I can't say this.
Hmm.
But yeah. But yeah, there's lots of people that just don't that just shouldn't have their driver's license that do.
Yeah, I mean, I saw there's a truck today, like an actual work truck. Like I don't remember what it was. It was one of those, like, actual work trucks, though. That just starts doing the same thing that the lady that hit me a few days ago did. Just starts coming into my lane. I'm like, really? This person realized what he was doing, and I was able. In that scenario, there was no one in front of me, so I was able to just speed up and get around it. But
I'm still typing how that works in my state.
okay.
Yep, that is how it works in my state. Oh, I also forgot one more thing.
That's close to how it is here, but instead of the test being harder than the online ones, it's easier.
Yeah, I mean it's random, but yeah, to yeah, but okay, so I'm gonna guess multiple states do it this way, so I'll go ahead and actually I think most states do it this way, so I can go ahead and explain how this works. But basically, in my state, I can't explain everything because obviously may depend, but my state expects you to read their driving manual that teaches you about the fundamentals of driving supposedly. This is going to sound controversial again, but they have an entire section about what you should do if you have consumed alcohol and where you should drive or not. Then now here's the problem with that. It's already the US already has an insanely high drinking age compared to other countries. And so most 15 and 16-year-olds, I mean, heck, even 18 and 19-year-olds that are getting their permits can't even legally drink it anyway. So why should they have to bother reading about it? And furthermore, there are adults that don't even drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Or else use any other types of substance like that. So that's one point. What else doesn't mention? They mention the manual mentions a lot of stuff about laws that aren't necessarily that aren't obviously posted.
There's a lot of weird laws that you wouldn't know of until you like actually read the manual thing.
Yeah, I mean, basic law, like it's apparently it's apparently a law in my state that you're supposed to have your headlights on when it's raining.
It's been a law. I think that might be federal at this point. I'm not sure.
There's no
not federal, but
I think it's a law in all 50 states. But there's no signs in my state that mention that though. Now, granted, it's automatic. Now, granted, most cars have automatic headlights these days, so it's kind of irrelevant. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know in a lot of states, you can just... So you know the solid white lines, single solid white lines?
Yeah.
In most states, that means it's just not recommended to change lanes. It doesn't mean that you can't. I don't know if it's still like that, but that's how I was taught in most states. But I've been told very conflicting things about that.
My state does that for construction zones.
Yeah.
Which then
I think mine too.
Which then obviously, passing a construction zone is obviously really stupid. Or changing lanes in a construction zone is not a bright idea.
Not like they do that much in construction zones here anyway at this point.
I know, there's I'll just mention two examples and three different examples in the southeast just to explain to you how conflicting construction zone speed limits are. So Arkansas posts their construction zone speed limits at 65 miles per hour typically.
Yeah.
This is even for complex work, like when they have it down to 1 lane per bound. Still 65. Yeah. Tennessee posts theirs typically at 60, sometimes 55. In Kentucky, it's always 55 for construction zones.
Sorry, I'm getting a call real quick. This might be important. Give me 1 second.
All right.
Sorry, I'm back. But yeah, the construction zones are really interesting.
They don't even do that much in construction zones, that feels like, and yet they
don't do anything. They just sit there playing with their toys all day most of the time. They barely ever get work done in construction.
No wonder why roads are under construction so much.
Yeah, so there's this one road that's been under construction for years near me. So every time that I go by it with a specific friend, they don't do anything. They just play with their toys. My friend goes and my friend rolls down the window and just yells, "Hey, stop playing with your big wheels and get a job," to the guy in the big excavator thing. They're the roller.
Yeah, that's
Because
literally.
they don't do anything. They're just holding up traffic. I
Yeah,
don't know why these guys. What are these guys getting paid for?
no, for I'll actually mention something that like it's become such a joke in my state about how often roads go under construction.
It's everywhere. Because a few months ago, this is quite a while ago. This was probably in August. I got flashed by a speeding camera, right? Because the highway was 65. I was behaving myself. I was going 70. I was in the ID4, and I was far from home at this point. I get flashed. I'm like, why is there a speeding camera on the highway? And I got flashed for a 70 and a 55 because some construction worker decided it wasn't important for them to put the sign up that says construction zone 55. So
What?
I was under the impression there was a 65, right? Now, luckily, I never got the ticket in the mail. I don't know if it was dismissed. I don't know what happened, but I got flashed by a speeding camera, and I think I told you guys about this when it happened. But I thought I got a speeding ticket from that. I didn't. And then just a few days ago, I was driving in another area, a completely different area. It's like opposite area, and I was going through a construction zone. So the construction zone that I had the speeding camera in was the whole highway was basically open. It was like 5 lanes out of the 6 lane highway or something. And then a few days ago, I was driving. That was actually after the ID4 incident happened with the person who hit me.
Uh,
It was a 1 way or 1 lane highway construction zone, right? So just straight up, just 1 lane, 40 mile an hour through the whole thing. That's been going on for over a year now. I've taken that road a few times. I can't see anything that they've done. They just do work. And then another route that I take a lot, really often, they've been doing construction there for at least since I've gotten my license, and more than likely a few years before that. And they still have yet to make a dent on it.
I know. For I mean, have the. For I mean, has the. For I mean, I know there's some other projects in your state that need to be like top priority. Well, there's one particular I can think of, but I won't say what it is because
Put
that
that
would.
in the chat.
Yeah.
But it's like they don't care about the construction zones. I don't know if they just put these construction guys there because they feel like, giving someone jobs or what it is. Or if there's just some massive thing planned for 100 years from now, but like, come on.
Yeah, for
It just causes traffic.
I know in Alabama, the Birmingham Northern Beltline, which is going to be which is going to be the northern bypass for Birmingham, that's going to take like 4 years or something to complete.
Yeah,
What are
it's
the
just how this
and
construction
and
stuff
mind you,
is.
and mind you, this is the same state where so AlDOT decided that was a genius idea to widen the like 13 or 10 to 20 miles section on the easternmost section of I-20 to 6 lanes, even though it's 4 lanes on the Georgia side, and then there's another 4 lane section for a few for like I would say 50 miles. And then obviously once you get like 30 miles east of Birmingham, it's 6 lanes again. So, and AlDOT does not plan on making that whole section, making I-20 entirely 6 lanes wide in Alabama from Birmingham all the way to the Georgia state line.
Yeah,
And what are, now my question is, what are they doing?
that's a good question for any DOT worker.
Yeah, also, and this is coming from the same state that half the time doesn't even post when there's a toll on the road.
Yeah, weird state.
Yeah, they're well. To be honest, all departments of transportation are a little weird once you look at them.
I don't know why the U.S. government can't just be normal for once. Like,
They've
there's
never been
always something going
normal.
on with them.
Yep.
What?
There's always something going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it drives me. We're just rambling at this point.
Yeah.
Do you have any more?
Just like all these.
Or what were you
Hmm?
gonna say?
I was just gonna say, all these construction zones and whatnot, just stupid. I mean, I get it, they have to do road work. Why do they have to do it in the way that they do it?
Yeah, I know. For there's so many I mean, I'll put in the chat some construction zones in my state that have been going on for what feels like infinity. But I, but like the roads in the roads, like I can swear that the route that I take to go to the route that I take to go to school, I don't know how my car's tires don't get damaged from that.
Tires are pretty tough. Unless you're driving through the Home Depot parking lot and you get a nail in one and you have to get it patched, because that happened to me once.
Yeah, but that's one example. But still, like that's such a rough route. And then there's been some infinite can. Yeah,
Hmm?
that's been under construction, but been kind of interesting. And then there's other roads in my area that aren't under construction that are so freaking rough.
Oh yeah, that happens too.
Cause even in some of the major cities, like in one of the major cities in my state, the roads are so unbelievably rough that you wouldn't even believe it.
Yeah, I could imagine that. Hang on, I'm getting another call. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm back.
All right. So I put two notable construction projects in my state in the chat that took forever to complete.
Yeah, that is some people's lifetime.
Yeah, not many, but still, that's quite a that. There's been construction projects in my state that have been going on for 50 years.
That is the age of some people's grandparents.
Yeah, for we could be grandfathers at the age of 50 without teen pregnancies being involved.
Yeah,
Wonder if we actually will be
it's
grandfathers by the time we're 50.
honestly, that sounds pretty cool.
I mean,
I'm not gonna lie,
again,
that does sound
I
pretty
get I
cool.
should say in the South that's relatively common.
Weird stuff happens in the South, but I feel like the South is probably a pretty cool place to live in general.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's a different type of culture, but it's definitely but it's not bad. It's just different.
Yeah.
Or I mean, it's not that different from the northern United States, but there's some things that you just have to get used to. Like for example, one thing is that you're expected to wave to everybody you know that you see.
Yeah,
That's
I can see that.
that's one thing. There's other things too. And where's another notable differences in the South? I mean, one notable difference is I would say driving manners in the South vary a lot more.
Really?
Well, I mean
In
they're
what way?
well, I mean maybe not necessarily of your neck of the woods, but a lot of times traffic on interstates will flow a lot faster in the well. This is also the Western United States, but a lot of times in the Southeast, even in urban areas, traffic will just go fast.
Well, that's good.
Or I mean, it'll go like most of the time whenever there's no traffic in a downtown area in one of the big cities in my area, in my general region, people will just go. And that's when
Yeah.
there's no traffic, which is almost never.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you've ever been to my state, you'll understand how bad the traffic is.
Yeah, the traffic is just in every state really at this point. I feel like traffic is just getting out of hand. I don't even know what the cause of it is.
Well, I think the problem is that big city is that first of all, they decide to decrease the speed limit on interstates in big cities, even though in reality you have more traffic that you need to get out faster.
I think that was the EPA that did that, right?
I don't know, but they just decrease. But in my local big city, they just decreased. They just decreased the speed limit in one tiny stretch of an interstate from 70 to 65.
Oh, what? Okay, that's stupid.
There is no reason to drop an interstate speed limit from 70 to 65 because, I mean, everyone's still going to go 70.
Everyone's gonna go like 80.
Cops, yeah. Yeah, cops can't write tickets for going 70. I mean, yeah, cops aren't going to. Cops technically. I don't think cops legally have the authority to write tickets for going 70 over 70 to 65 most of the time. Or else they. I mean, I technically think they have legal authority to, but they just don't most of the time.
Yeah, I don't think that they're incentivized enough to do that. Because if you were a police officer, who would you go for? Someone going 70 and a 60, or someone going 100 and a 60?
Someone going 100 because I don't know if police officers. I believe police officers the more big the more I believe police officers can get awards and whatnot for getting actual arrests because you could actually arrest people for going 100 and a 60.
Yeah, I'm
You can't arrest people for
sure
going
that's
70 and a
reckless.
60.
Yeah, I mean, 70 and a 60. I mean, even 70 and like a 55 is pretty normal in most areas that I've been to.
That in my area it depends on what type of road you're on because if you're on a 2-lane road then that's pretty insane in most cases.
Most of
Especially
our 2-lane roads are like 30.
most rural 2-lane. So how it works in my state, which is relatively standard in the southeast, so I don't mind explaining this, is that so residential areas are usually 25 to 20 to 30 depending. If they're shorter, they're usually 20. If they're longer, they're usually 30. And if they're even and then once you get to the longer streets, they're like streets that are over a mile long, they're 35, and if they're they're at least 35, and if they're several miles long, they can get up to 45.
Huh.
And then generally, rural 2-lane roads, generally they were posted anywhere between 40. Rural 2-lane highways generally posted anywhere between 40 and 55 in my state.
Yeah.
Rural divided highways are typically 55 to 65, and urban divided highways are typically, well, they can be really anything from 40 to 55. And then
Hang on, I have to change my speaker setup real quick.
Okay.
Stuff is coming through weird.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm back. Stuff was coming through my phone and it was playing through my speakers. But yeah, what were you saying?
Oh yeah, I was saying, and I was mentioning how freeways, if they're urban, in my state they're typically 55 miles per hour, and then if they're rural, they're usually 70.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like the 70-mile-an-hour highway is kind of dying unless you're in, I guess, the West.
Well, in the West, there's no such thing as 70, because usually it's a
Really?
lot fast. Well, it's usually faster in the West, or it's higher in the
Yeah.
West, unless you're on the West
It's crazy
Coast.
because, like, most of the places here, it's like 60 or less. I've seen highways with 45 miles an hour speed limits. Parts of highways, at least.
Like
And I
interstate.
don't mean like the easy pass. Yeah, like interstate. Well, I think it's interstate. I'm not sure. It definitely connects into an interstate if it's not an interstate already. But I mean, it's like 4, 5, 6 lane highways that just. I kind of forgot the area, but I just remember I've driven through it many times. And it's always weird because you're going normal highway speeds, then it just goes down, to 45, and it's like if you're going the speed that you're going to be cruising at, you're going to be doing reckless driving. You're going to be doing 20 over.
I know, and I think I know there's some zones like that in your state. I don't think I'm thinking. I don't think I'm thinking of the right zone though.
I'm not sure.
But I think I know. I think I have I think I have maybe like a small. I have a few ideas of what that
Put it in
zone
the
could
chat. Nah,
Okay, it's not that.
don't believe so. I've never really paid attention to where it is, but I just know it exists, and I pass through it sometimes.
Yeah, there's lots of there's a whole lot of zones where the speed limit decreases.
Yeah, but it is getting late, so I'd say we should probably get ready to close this
Yeah,
up.
we've been rambling on for almost an hour at this point, so
I think that we've talked about highways more than tech.
yes, we definitely have. I mean, we didn't even discuss what went wrong with your speakers.
Yeah, just typical Apple Bluetooth stuff.
All right, well, as always, thank you all for tuning into another episode of the iTunes Fan Podcast. And as always, I'm Teddy Macker from the iTunes Fanboy.
I am Tabby Cat.
And as always, we hope to talk more about tech this time, because I mean we didn't have a whole lot of tech topics this time, but hopefully we'll talk more about tech and EVs in our next episode. And as always, I'm Teddy Maggart from the iTunes Fanboy. And as always, we were saying peace out for now, and we hope to see you all in the next episode. Goodbye.